Let's talk about why maybe you should or should not play Curse of Strahd in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition.
Welcome to RPGs Beyond the Roll, where we take our combined 50 plus years of playing role-playing games and share with you some of our personal experiences and thoughts on the topic, whether it be in front of the screen or behind the screen, in live or digital.
I'm Brian.
I'm Derica.
And let's get cursed.
All right, so this is like a pulling the Band-Aid off, just grabbing it and get it off, because
we thought about making notes for this, but we didn't.
We're like, nope, we're just going to be chaos monkeys, because if anything is a chaos monkey, it's the Curse of Strahd.
Yep. Now, let me just explain a little bit of the history of Curse of Strahd. It started out in like 1st or 2nd edition D&D, which was a very, very different animal. And back then, D&D was very punitive. Okay. A lot of like the labyrinths that were made and the dungeons that were made, you weren't necessarily supposed to make it out. Like Tomb of Annihilation, perfect example. You really weren't supposed to win. Your character was meant to suffer. It was supposed to be hard, punitive, and difficult. Strahd came about in that time period. So as it got converted to other versions, I don't think some of that got bred out of it. Just saying.
Now, the Curse of Strahd comes to you from the Ravenloft area, and this is basically a pocket dimension,
demiplane,
a multiple.
It's a demiplane,
but there's like, it's the realm of dread, I believe is how they verse it, and there's different places, but the Curse of Strahd takes place in Barovia, and you should be wearing your I
should be wearing my It's Never Sunny in Barovia shirt. Oh well.
But we recently finished the campaign where I was DMing, and the party actually changed not once, not twice, but 3 times.
I stayed with the same character throughout, though.
During the campaign, because some people are just like, nope, I'm out. And this is something that's really important to understand, both as a player and as a DM, and that's what brings you joy. What is going to work for you and what isn't. And you need to be honest, not only with your DM and your other fellow players, but with yourself.
I would like to go on record as saying something that I am very aware of. I know there are a lot of people out there that absolutely love the Curse of Strahd campaign. To those people, I apologize for everything that we're about to say.
I am going to say
most things.
Don't worry, you're in Camp Derica, because I adored Curse of Strahd, and I was really sad that nobody was having as much fun as I wanted them to have. But as a DM, it is not my job to impose my will on my players. And I feel like this is something that all DMs need to hear. There's many people that tend to get this power trip. I'm the DM, I'm God. And that's not cool, man. That's not good for your table or for your players, because this is a scenario where everybody, including the DM, should be having fun. And if you are considering yourself beyond reproach, then that's going to create some conflict that's completely unnecessary.
Gods in D&D are NPCs. They're not in charge of things in the game itself.
Right.
As you can probably tell, I had some problems with playing Curse of Strahd. I wouldn't say that I hated it. I would just say I'll probably never want to play it again.
So we're going to talk a little bit, and I am going to be camp creepy kids, as we like to call ourselves. And Brian is going to be
I like playing a hero. I don't
fun.
Yeah. I mean, okay, here's the thing. I'm not 20 years old. So when I get time to play, I want to enjoy that time. I want to not have to think too hard. I mean, a little thinking is good. Puzzles are nice, and, strategies, figuring things out. That's all great. But I don't want to have to think too hard, and I don't want to walk away feeling bad from the session. And when I say feeling bad, I mean like that, wow, all this bad stuff just kept happening. Just everything was bad. And even when something good, it was still bad. That's, to me, punitive. And to me, that's not fun. I know a lot of people that love that. They think that kind of thing is great. Gothic horror, all that kind of stuff is awesome. But I also, keep in mind, I don't like scary movies. I laugh at them. I think they're dumb. So horror movies and all that kind of stuff don't do it for me. So I'm a very different perspective than what Derica has going into. Although you don't like horror movies either.
For different reasons. All right. So going into this campaign, I was trying to make some of my friends that liked the creepier side, the gothic horror stuff, the dark stuff, have a space where they could play out that
We started with
concept.
4 players, right?
Right. But I opened the table to some other people that I thought were really great role players that I wanted to incorporate in there. But
that was after we lost 2.
Nope.
Oh.
But that was I wasn't equated with them, or I didn't really understand their viewpoint of what really brought them joy as a role player.
Okay.
I knew I trusted them as a role player, but I didn't know how to create a campaign that would suit them. And that's where Brian and John come in, as they weren't the best players for Strahd. And that's not saying that they're bad players. That was just saying this wasn't the right campaign for them.
John came in with a
Tabaxi. He's like, I'm
rogue.
going to play a Tabaxi. And
we all kind of said, are you sure?
I immediately just kind of like, deer in headlights. Like,
to his credit, the character was awesome.
Oh my gosh. His Tabaxi.
But made things harder.
It did.
Derica was easy on us. Let's just say that.
All right. So how do you want to divide this up? Do you want to do it by areas, or do you want to do it the things we liked and the things we didn't like?
Yeah, let's do that. Things we liked, things we didn't like.
Okay. So for me as a player, even though I was the DM, the things that I liked about Strahd is I do like the gothic horror scenario. I do like that the things that go bump in the night are real and live, and you should be afraid. I enjoy
I like that too.
I appreciate that aspect of Ravenloft and the Realms of Dread. I do like the concept that
Domain of Dread. That's what it is.
There's lots of secret underlying things. Some things are very blatant and open, where some things you're going to have to dig deeper. I personally really enjoy that. I love puzzles. I love intrigue. And so that works for me as a player. Now, I wasn't a player in this. I was the DM. But I liked having this kind of open scenario where there's multiple venues that I could bring people into the game, so that they all don't have to start at a tavern. They could start at different places, and that's actually ended up as we introduced more people. They all had their different backgrounds and how they ended up in this mysterious place. So it didn't align perfectly, which went well with this crazy scenario. So that was really cool for me, and I think that aspect the players enjoyed. I also really liked that there was lots of room for character development. You can come in being squeaky clean, and if you make it out of Strahd squeaky clean, then maybe you weren't paying enough attention. And I don't want to be critical, because there's some people that are going to have, their character is going to have the fortitude and the will to stand strong. But there is a lot of temptation in Strahd, and I think that's kind of cool and fun. What did you like about it?
Things I liked about it. I thought, okay, my only real knowledge of Ravenloft before that was an online Neverwinter Nights persistent world that we played in, where it was a very low magic. There was a couple things I didn't like about it, but for the most part, it was a fun place to play, and the role play was very, very good. People were actually good role players there. Going into Strahd, I was hoping for something like that, and it turned out to be that times 10. Like, it was very dark and foreboding. Now, at first, that sounded pretty cool, and I think the first 2 or 3 months that we played, I enjoyed it much, much more than as time went on, because my feeling on it is this: once you get to be 10th, 11th, 12th level characters, you're kind of powerful. And if Ravenloft is a low magic world, I don't know, you probably aren't as scared of that werewolf anymore, because you can take him with your bare hands. So to me, a lot of the fights and things just got a little bit kind of foregone conclusion-ish, like we knew we were going to win. Now, some changes were made along the way too, because
A lot of changes.
oh yeah,
were made.
oh I know, and I was not inside on some of that, all that information, but I was inside on helping with some of the numbers sometimes. We were given magic items and magic weapons when we probably shouldn't have been, according to the campaign. That's my understanding of it. But as a D&D player, that's part of why I like to play. I like to find stuff and explore and get loot and upgrade my gear and have cool abilities. That's part of why I play D&D. This campaign really didn't want you to have any of those things. It really just wanted to be punishing. Now, here's the problem. You're fighting many creatures that have magical resistances, but yet you're not allowed to have a magical weapon. Okay, what? My logical mind, I couldn't grasp that. And that's when I started to try to figure out why it was like that. And that's why. It's because of where it came from and the time period that it was from. That's how things were. It was much harder. It was not, you were meant to die. Your characters were meant to die. You were not meant to make it through. Now, this is a dichotomy that happens with 5th edition. A lot of people say the 5th edition is wimpy, or it's like, just unicorns and sparkles because it's very hard to die. Well, here's the other side to it. You also have all this time put into a character to have that. At any point, one wrong move could kill your character, kind of makes the game less fun for me. I'm definitely that kind of player. I put a lot of time and effort into every character I make. Even if they died at level 1, I'd be pretty pissed off because I put a lot of time and effort into even a level 1, let alone being at level 12 or level 14. And then they get killed off just because I made one wrong move, one bad choice. And that's all it takes in Ravenloft sometimes.
Red Dragon. Sorry. I had a little thing stuck in my throat.
Yeah, that's right. I had an entire party get killed off by a red dragon that took weeks of build up to get to, and they chose to fight it. Sorry, you chose to fight it.
And that, I think, illustrates quite succinctly the disconnect between players and DMs. And we're not intended to share information because that would ruin the game. Sure. So there's things that the DM is privy to because they have to be, because they're the DM, and there's things that the players are not privy to because it would ruin the game for them.
Absolutely.
If they knew everything.
And I wholeheartedly agree. I feel that the campaign itself is difficult. I don't think the translation went over well from different versions, and I'm not the player for Curse of Strahd.
All right. So Brian skipped over the things he liked and jumped right into the things he didn't like. And that is completely fine.
Well, okay. Let me talk things that I liked. I liked that it was such a large world and you could go a lot of different places and have a lot of freedom. However, with the foreboding atmosphere, it made that less interesting because any step off the road turned into chaos and craziness, which just made it like, okay, now nobody wants to explore anymore. That was the end result of that. As much as I love the fact that it was a huge world, had lots and lots of depth and things going on, it made it that way. And it was the kind of thing where every scenario we were in, there was lots of detail, lots of things going on. But no matter how much you tried, you always missed something. You always miss something. You could never always get everything that was going on. And I see that as replayability to a point, but I also see that as kind of a failing on the part of the campaign, where sometimes a room is just a room, but in Strahd, it's almost never just a room. There's almost always a secret thing, a this, a that, a clue, a something, almost always. So we could spend an entire session or two in one room sometimes in that campaign. To me, that just drags things on, and it should go faster than that.
So even though we're discussing our personal opinions on this campaign quite openly, we're actually trying to hold back and not create any spoiler situations. So that way,
I don't want to give anything away. I'm not going to give details.
If you found the positives are going to work for you and that the negatives really aren't an issue for you, then by all means, go ahead and play Curse of Strahd. And that's why we titled this Should You or Should You Not? Because I think this is a perfect game for people who are willing to go through this type of scenario. And then it's the ultimate not right game for those who that's not going to be fun
My
for them.
best advice is expect the worst all the time and take a lot of notes and be really diligent about taking notes and explore everything. Talk to every NPC. And I don't just mean surface, I mean get into it. The issue that I was running into is I had a character that was not so much of the, like, I'm going to drill people until they give me information type, at least at first. So it was her personality to not interfere, to not get in people's faces and get in their business and ask a million questions. And that made it that much harder because some of our other party members were much like that too. Basically, they had it in their head, they just wanted to go home. We didn't really care about figuring it out. We wanted to go home. We wanted to get out of there, which to me made sense. And from a roleplay perspective is a common concept and how a character would want to be. But in that campaign, it's just not an option.
Well, counter to that is if your motivation is to get home and just going through the realm of hack and slash isn't cutting it, then you're going to have to adapt in order to get to that goal. But, you know, that's neither here nor there. So now we're going to talk about some things as far as the structure of the game that we absolutely didn't like. And I'm going to start off as a DM. My number one complaint, and I think I said this probably every session, was the maps.
Oh, yeah, they were horrible.
Could you just... and I know
some of them they made almost like a 3D
but,
version that when you're trying to use like minis, or if you're trying to use we use Owlbear Rodeo for you can't do it. It doesn't work.
Consistency will set you free.
Yep.
And there is no consistency in the maps.
And you need maps for this one. If you try doing this,
their scale, their everything is all
so inconsistent,
wonky. And that was a little confusing to me because as a artist with an artistic background, if I were developing products for a specific campaign, I would want them to be interchangeable and be able to relate to each other.
Sure.
It's okay if you have, this is the larger map, so the scale is obviously going to be larger than a detailed map. That makes sense. That's logical and that works for me. But when you have, this is a top view map, and this is a side view map, and this is a three-dimensional, that kind of curves around map.
The three-dimensional ones were just ridiculous.
How am I supposed to utilize these both as a DM and as a player to make any sense of my surroundings and to try to have a visual cue in order to create combat or interactions with the NPCs? Now,
you might be thinking, what if you just do theater of the mind? There is so many things there. Theater of the mind would be very, very difficult. She would have had to have simplified things so much more to make theater of the mind possible. Yeah.
Brian's complaint about not being able to get all the details without the aid of a visual, like a map.
You'd get nothing.
I think it would be even more
You'd enter a room and walk through the room and not even nothing. So
that is probably my biggest as a DM complaint was the maps. The
maps that was very frustrating for all of us.
So very angry. The next complaint that I had is with the writing of the campaign itself. And I feel like this is probably because of all the different updates that they attempted to do from the original version that they really need to have the writers go through and read the whole thing from start to finish and make sure...
They kind of lost the plot.
Make sure that all the information that is needed for the DM to present to the players is readily available. There were areas on the map that just were not included in the campaign at all. They were marked on the map. Here's area 3B.
But there was nothing.
3B is not to be found. And
But then later on, they referenced something that you should have found in 3B.
Sure. They have very distinct, detailed rights about a specific NPC. And then they suggest that this one thing happens, and then they don't give you any details about that one thing. And you try to search in one of the appendixes, and you still can't find it. I think that's just because of the rewrites that have occurred over time. It's lost some of the consistency and the
there was other things that it was like a super detailed description of this area that was almost like sometimes a room is just a room, and then it would gloss over an area that might have 6 or 8 things we're supposed to find.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. When you're writing a campaign, it's a mental cue and a psychological thing to players. If you go into detail, you're telling the players there's a lot here to look at. If you gloss over details and just say, like you could say, you enter a room and there's tapestries and there's a fireplace and there's this and there's the pokers and there's furniture and there's this. Or you enter a room and there's a fireplace and a couple of windows. Which one do you think your players are more likely to want to look at? And it just started to feel like, oh, there's a lot of detail here. That means there's nothing. And there's no detail here. That means there must be something. But it was inconsistent. It wasn't that way. Just some rooms they barely described. Other rooms they went into such excruciating detail that I was like, okay, did we really need to know the exact weave pattern of the curtains in this room? Like, why is that important to me? But just saying. I'm a little salty about this campaign because I really wanted to like it. I really did. I wanted to enjoy it. And like I say, I think the first few months were so much better. And then it all started to come back to me that no matter what we do, we're screwed. And it wasn't her. It wasn't the DM. It's the way this is written is very difficult to follow, very difficult to control, very difficult to play in. And you're not supposed to win. Now, I know there's no winning or losing in D&D, but in this one, you are literally supposed to fail all the time. That was what it started to feel like. You are meant to fail no matter what you do, which as a player, after a while, you just kind of go, okay, why try? And I know Derica disagrees with me, but that is, as a player, how I felt.
Okay.
And I know I'm not alone.
Fair enough. Do you have any specifics that you would like to talk about that aren't spoilers of what you didn't like about the campaign?
I think I just said it.
Probably.
I think the way D&D is made today, there should be a chance of success. And I don't really think that Strahd was written for that to happen. In other words, you have to have such extraordinary circumstances to actually be able to have success in this. And by success, I mean your characters go in, they get kicked down, kicked back, whatever, and then they build up and they get knocked down, and then they build up some more, and then they get knocked down. It just never felt like you were building up in this. If the characters could do that and build to something and then have this heroic battle at the end, that there's a chance of winning, that to me makes a campaign playable. Whereas this one, we all kind of felt like no matter what the end game is, we're not meant to win. And when you feel that way going into it, it kind of makes the game less worth playing. In other words, if you're playing a game, whether your outcome is to win or to have a great time and enjoy things and feel like what you're doing matters, that's a game to me. Whereas it really felt like no matter what we were doing towards the end, it didn't matter. The game had oh, you want to do this? Boom, punished. Oh, you want to do that? Boom, punish. It just felt like no matter which choice was made, it was a punishment rather than any kind of a success. And that's not you. That's the writing of the campaign.
So I know the question on your mind is, did your fellow players win the Curse of Strahd? The answer is yes, they did. But unfortunately, by the time they got to that point, nobody felt like this was a game worth winning.
Yeah.
So what I did as a DM to try to make it funner, more fun, more enjoyable for the people at the table who weren't into the dark horror scenario was I created some unbalance. So it was set to be that certain character types would get boons throughout the gameplay, and that the group would have to work together tightly as a group in order to overcome obstacles.
Well, that was our first problem.
So that never occurred with my group. Each time I would give a boon to a person, then unfortunately other people felt left out because they were more used to the scenario where everybody has the same opportunity to get a magical item or to get something that's going to enhance one of their capabilities. That's really not how Strahd is written. It's much more restrictive. And as Brian said, for him as a player, that felt impunitive. So at the very beginning of playing this, I tried to make it very clear that the chance of death was very high.
And I was okay with that.
And that this was a gothic horror scenario, and that you were meant to be scared regardless of your level as a person. There was always something that you needed to check behind your shoulder to make sure that that sensation wasn't just in your head but might actually be there. But because it became kind of dragging the group down, I made adjustments based on their personal preferences and what brought them joy to the game.
Oh, yeah. She was turning it around to our likes.
That unfortunately broke the Strahd.
Right.
So I take full responsibility for...
Nobody blames you, though.
For making that a bigger issue.
We know what you did and why.
So when you give your players an equal chance to have magical items, you're going to have to reassess the bad guys that they're fighting.
Oh, yeah.
Because it became really easy for them to go through and fight things, and
which takes away the whole fear.
Which took away the fear that they weren't appreciating in the first place, and it also made it feel like, well, what's the point of this battle if we're just going to walk through it? So in my goal to try to make it a more enjoyable experience for my players, I made it a worse experience. And this is just a lesson for me to learn as a DM, is that there probably was a point at the beginning where I just said, you know what? Let's play a different game, because I don't think this is working for this group. And even after the third iteration of the people that were playing at the table, it still wasn't the right group.
Well, there was one or two people in the group that were really into that kind of campaign. The rest of us were into a more lighthearted, more fun, adventuring, exploring, where the good guys win kind of deal. We were more into that. And this is not that. There's a lot of exploring. Just expect that if you choose the wrong direction to go exploring, bad things are going to happen, period. End of statement. So you have to choose the right way to explore, which is difficult to do because you don't know. So instead, if fear sets in, you don't explore, which means it drags. And that was kind of what I was starting to see happening with us too. We wouldn't go that way because, well, what if something bad happens? And I started to just have I'm touching everything, I'm doing all the things, and well, bad things happened. And they did, and I accepted it. I don't want to give too many spoilers at that point. I mean, there was points after I touched all the things and became interesting that it was fun, but then it got more punitive again. And I mean, towards the end, we were all just kind of like, okay, is it over yet? That was pretty much how we got. And I feel bad because as a DM, that's really hard when your players aren't in it anymore.
But the light at the end of the tunnel is that it helped me make better decisions as a DM for the next campaign.
Which is going wonderfully
And right now we're having a blast because
people playing.
I selected a campaign that was better suited for my players. Mm-hmm. I learned what gave them joy, and I made sure to select a campaign that could bring that to them.
Loot and damage. No, just kidding. But they do.
So, to finalize, should you play the Curse of Strahd? Maybe. It really depends.
Yeah, maybe. You might like it.
Make sure that you are going in fully understanding what is required of you as a DM and a player, so that way you know if it's right for you and if you will enjoy the experience. Is there a topic about any role-playing game that you would like us to talk about? Let us know in the comments below.
And as always, may the rolls be ever in your favor.
Bye-bye.